fun. So it is, again, it's an action-packed webinar. You're going to see three different things today. I will go through the outline in a minute, but we're going to talk about the Microsoft To-Do application, the Planner application, and the Teams application, like integrating your Microsoft To-Do and your Planner inside Teams. But before we get into that, let me just move ahead here. I'll introduce myself to those of you that haven't been in the webinars before. I've been running the last few webinars, but we have different people running depending on what the webinar is. I just happen to have been doing the last few. So I'm Christine Irons, and I have been training and creating course content for CompUEs and the Great Canadian Training Company now for over 3 years, probably about 3.5 years now. And I used to work in Toronto for many, many, many years in Toronto. I was working at York University, and I was basically doing the same thing. So I was teaching technical courses, designing their courseware, doing help desk. So basically my whole working life, I've been doing computer support and training and that type of thing. And then again, for those of you that have been in the webinars before, you know that if I'm not training, I'm singing. So I love to sing. And it's so nice, guys. Lately, I think people have really been missing music, like live music during COVID, because we're getting so many bookings, so many people coming out. It's just, oh, it's nice to get out there and do some music again. I'm just hoping it stays like this. Okay, now you're using Zoom as the platform for this webinar. And if you haven't used Zoom before, if you mouse around your screen somewhere, you should see a little control toolbar pop up like I'm pointing to here on my screen. And there should be a little chat button on that toolbar, which I recommend you load for a couple of reasons. One is if you're having any technical issues at all during this webinar, we have Melanie on hand. You probably see in the chat that she just introduced herself. So you can just put a message into the chat and she will help you through the technical issues. And then also, if you have any questions during the webinar, just put it into the chat. I won't get into the questions during the webinar because we try to make our webinars run smoothly from beginning to end without a lot of interruptions. But at the end of the webinar, I will definitely look at those chat messages. I will answer your questions. And if you want to just save the questions up to the end, I'll give you a couple of minutes to put the questions in anyway. I'll show you around our websites while you're putting your questions in, and then I will cover your questions. Okay, so definitely load that chat. Also, if your internet drops at all during this webinar and you lose the webinar, you can just rejoin the webinar. Just go back to that email, click the link again, join the webinar. Same with your phone. If you happen to dial in using your phone, you can just dial in again. It'll just pick up again. Okay. And by the way, the webinars, they're recorded and they're available for you after the webinar, usually within 24 hours. They go up on our website, the link on our website. They go up on YouTube so you can watch them again. So you don't have to sort of panic about taking notes because you can always refer to the recorded webinar. And because you guys are actually in the webinar and attending the webinar, you'll get an email with the link to the webinar when it's available, which is kind of cool. And then just really quickly, a very short background, because I did mention just a few minutes ago that I work for Great Canadian Training, the Great Canadian Training and Consulting Company. And I also work for CompUEs. Well, you know what? They're really the same company. One of the big differences really is that it depends on where you are, where you're located when you decide to take the training. So if you live in Ottawa or the Quebec area, then you go through CompUEs. CompuEase has been around a long time in Ottawa. So rather than rename the CompuEase, like the CompuEase name to Great Canadian Training, we've left it as CompuEase. So that's Ottawa and the Quebec area. The rest of Canada, United States, actually anywhere in the world, we train all around the world. You go through Great Canadian Training, but they're basically the same company. They both offer public and private classes. They offer database support, consulting services, like you name it, we offer it basically. I guess one of the other big differences with CompuEase though is if you happen to live in Ottawa or, you know, just over on the Quebec side, we also have a public training facility downtown. So, I mean, we're not using it now with everything that's happening with COVID, but as soon as we can, we'll be up and running again with the public classes. So if you prefer to come to a classroom environment, then you can just join a public class, or you can actually, if you're going to have or request a private class with us, you can do it in our downtown facilities too, or at your private facility. So many choices, guys. And there are a lot of reasons to take training with these companies, but the one that always stands out to me that I always mention to you guys, because people always mention it to me when I'm doing training with them, our public classes are always guaranteed to run. You don't get cancellations. You don't get those emails and those calls from the company saying, sorry, you're the only one in the training course, so we're going to postpone it and, you know, make you come back in 2 months. They will always run. So if you mark it in your calendar and you really want it and you don't want to transfer to another class with a bunch of people, you can still take the training. Never canceled. And then as for training, what we offer is for technical training, pretty much all of the Microsoft applications, the Adobe applications like your Photoshop, Dreamweaver. I took Photoshop, it was really good. The programming and specialty courses. I know some of you use Crystal reports. You want to learn Excel VBA, you know, things like that. But I always tell you, if you go to our website, which I will show you, and you don't see a course that you're looking for on our website, don't assume we don't offer it. We have a lot of trainers, and we can work with you. So just contact us and we'll work with you. We also offer the professional skills training. We have Joel Silverstone, some other trainers too. Joel is great. He offers a lot of these professional skills training courses, and he's revamping some, making them really great courses, like some of the time management and team building courses and communication skills. I'll talk about that too at the end. So he's got some great courses going. And again, if you're looking for something and you don't see it, just contact us. Plus, we customize courses for you too. Okay, so that was a little bit about our webinar. Now what's going to be, sorry, a bit about our the business, but what's covered in this webinar. What I'm going to start with is, and you know me, whenever I run the webinars, I like to give you some background. Don't just jump in and teach you the technical. Let's look at a little bit of psychology behind your task lists, your to-dos, you know, why you're doing it, and best practices. So I'll go through some of that with you. Then we will jump in for sure. I'm going to show you the Microsoft To-Do application. I will then show you the Microsoft Planner application. So you'll see the difference behind using To-Do or using Planner. You can choose what's going to work best for you. You could use both too if you wanted to, but you can choose what works best for you. And then once you use To-Do and Planner and you know how they work, then how can you integrate them into Teams? And I know a lot of people are using Teams. We do a lot of Teams training. So how do you integrate those into Teams? And I'll show you. Okay, so like I said, you're going to get a lot out of this webinar. All right, So I'm just going to close this for now, just so you can concentrate on our webinar. So let's jump into it, guys. And think of the questions you have. Don't forget to pop them into the chat. But let's start off with the psychology of the to-do list. So first of all, studies have shown that people perform better when they've written down what they need to do. Okay, why? Well, I can give you 3 reasons. There are a lot more than the 3 reasons, but I've narrowed it down for you. 3 reasons. First of all, it helps with your feelings of anxiety. If you're feeling anxious, if you're waking up in the middle of the night, thinking about all the things that you have to do, going through it in your brain, you're not getting sleep, you're anxious during the day, honestly, writing down the to-do list and getting it out of your brain clears your mind, and it's an easy way to feel less anxious. It gets the thoughts out of our head. It stops our brains from working overtime trying to remind us of what we have to do, because our brains just do that naturally. They give us structure, a plan that we can stick to. It helps you get things done in the right order and not forget things. And they're proof of what we've achieved that day or that week or that month. And by the way, even the small tasks are important. It's the little things that add up that give us that feeling of accomplishment. So just marking off your to-do list, that feeling of accomplishment. Now, there have been 2 studies done, 2 really interesting studies. Like, I think that these are interesting for the creating task lists and to-do lists. And the first study that I came across, it was by a Russian psychologist. His name was Bluma Zygarnik. I think it was Zygarnik. I always forget how to pronounce that. It's there. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Zygarnik effect, but he was the first person to note the brain's obsession with pressing tasks. Like I was telling you, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're constantly thinking of your tasks, that is our brain. We actually remember the things that we need to do better than the things that we've done. And he observed waiters delivering food or taking orders and delivering foods. And he observed that waiters could only recall diners' orders before they'd been served. But once they served the dishes, once they'd been delivered, their memories just erased. Who'd had the steak, who'd had the soup. It's the way our brains work. The deed was done, the brain was ready to let go. Okay, it's called the Zygarnik effect. And the other study that was done, it was more recent study. It was a couple of professors, I think at the Florida State University. Same kind of thing. They noticed that tasks that we haven't done, they distract us. They distract our brains. And just making a plan to get them done frees us from the anxiety. They observed that people actually underperform on a task when they're unable to finish a warm-up activity, which I'll explain, okay? When participants were allowed to actually write down concrete plans, which would be considered your warm-up activity, performance on the next task substantially improved. Simply writing down the tasks will make you more effective. So 2 really interesting studies. So what are the advantages of an electronic to-do list? I'm talking about an electronic to-do list over writing it down on paper, because I used to always write it on paper and cross it off. So what are the advantages of doing it electronically in the to-do or the planner or combined in Teams? Well, one of them is your to-do lists can be accessed anytime, anywhere, from computers, phones, tablets. And these days, most of the to-do applications that you use are shared across platforms. So if you sit at your computer and you put down a couple of to-dos in one of your applications, I'll bet you there's an app for it on your phone, your iPad, the same app, and you will see those to-dos there. And you can also jot them down on the iPhones, iPads. Definitely to-do. Yeah, you can. Organizing your tasks is extremely convenient when it's electronic. So doing things like if you want to sort, filter, you want to sort it by importance or by due dates or by subjects. You can't do that with a piece of paper. You write it down in that order, it stays in that order. It's electronic. You can sort and filter it any way you want. You can share your to-dos with other people, so you can delegate tasks to other team members and you can track their progress. And everybody can keep up to date with what's keeping you busy if you decide to share it. You don't have to, but people can see why you're so busy. And then you can also set reminders for your tasks. Just the right amount of notification or intrusion, if you want to call it that, will help you stay on track for your important tasks. You can't do that with paper. So what are some strategies for creating effective to-do lists? And again, guys, there were lots and lots of strategies in all of my research that I've ever done when I've taught time management, tasks, Outlook, anything that keeps you organized. Many strategies, but again, I've tried to narrow it down for you guys for this webinar. One of them is break down your big tasks into smaller, achievable blocks. So instead of writing something like, write my novel, I mean, that's overwhelming. Write something like, outline my first chapter of my novel. So break it. It's kind of like, when you go on a road trip, especially with your kids, if you had a really long road trip, it seems much more manageable if you break it into chunks. Like, okay, in an hour, we're going to be at McDonald's, guys. That kind of thing. Break it down into small chunks. Write down the tasks as soon as you think of them. Okay, so as soon as it pops into your head, write it down as quickly as possible. It prevents your brain from dwelling on them, and you can just purge the thoughts from your brain. And sometimes, if you say, I'm going to write it down later, sometimes later becomes never, which has happened to me many times. Also, just be realistic. Be realistic about how long things are going to take. Like, build in some kind of like extra workable time. So like factor in float, they call it. So if you know the way you are, you get distracted by social media or something during the day, you know what? Build that in, because if you don't build it in, then your tasks are going to get overwhelming. You're not going to be getting them done. And then you're just going to stop doing your task lists. So build in that float. And always start your tasks with a verb. It makes it easier for your brain to understand what to do. I don't know if you've ever done this, because when I used to make my task lists, I would write down something like website, report, just sort of nouns, just general things. But then when I would go and look back at my list, I would think website, what? Or report. But just by saying something like design website, write report, your brain kind of goes, ah. Okay, so start with a verb. And then there is this technique, I'm not sure if you've heard of, it's called if-then planning. And it's a technique that they say will increase the likelihood of you reaching your goals or finishing your projects, or marking off your tasks by 200 to 300% if you use if-then planning. And the way, if you want, you could word this in your task list. You don't have to word it like this. I'll give you another technique, but the trick is not just to decide what you need to do. And most to-do lists, it's just what you have to do, what you have to do, but also when you have to do it. And you word it like this. So you start off with if or when, doesn't matter. Okay, if something occurs, then I will do something. Okay, so for an example, you could say, when it's 3 p.m. today, then I will stop what I'm doing and work on the project. Or if it's Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, then I'll go to the gym before work. So for each to do, pair it with a when. So you could write your tasks that way. And honestly, this has proven that you increase your likelihood of getting these done up to 300% with this, something as simple as this. So you could write it down like that in your to-do list, or if you don't want to write it like that, even just simply scheduling time on your calendar. So when you put a task in, actually block time on your calendar. So you're not only putting what the task is, but when you're actually going to do it. And by the way, they say with this if then, so you have a situation or a cue, that's what the if is. And then you have a trigger, that's the then behavior. So when a cue triggers, the then behavior follows automatically without conscious thinking. Okay, that's the idea behind it. Now the last little bit that I'm going to talk about is, and this will be short, but I know it's really difficult if you're not used to creating your to-do list to actually stick with your to-do lists. And I was the same way, where I would decide I was going to get all efficient and do my to-do lists, and then I just sort of not use them after a while. And then a few months down the road, okay, I'm going to do this, and I start it again. But how long does it take to form a habit? And years ago, we used to teach people that it takes 21 days of consistently doing something to form a habit. Well, I hate to tell you guys, that's a myth. It was, I can't remember the person who wrote a book that mentioned that, but it was mentioned in a way that people took it the wrong way and jumped on it. And then word got around that it takes 21 days to form a habit. So that's a myth. In reality, and don't let this put you off, I'm just telling you this so that you try to stick with it a bit longer. But in reality, it takes anywhere from 18 days to 254 days, but on average, it takes 66 days to form a habit. So it's approximately, if you look at this chart, when you get to approximately 66 days, this is where it starts to level off, where you really don't have to put that much effort into it, and it just becomes natural. So you start up here where you have to put a lot of effort into reminding yourself to keep it up and actually do it. And when you get to the 66-day mark, it should become a habit. Now everybody's different, but this is ballpark. So if you can just get yourself to stick with it. And by the way, if you happen to miss a day, so, oh, you've been so good up for 15 days and then all of a sudden you forget it, you don't do it for a day. Don't think you have to start all over again. Okay, it's just a tiny little setback, keep going, but try to keep it consistent. Basically, your brain likes habits. And if you think about seatbelts, we all get into a car now, we automatically put our seatbelts on without even thinking about it. It's just a habit that our brain has gotten used to. You get in, put the seatbelt on, get on with your life. This is an example of a habit. And I hate to say it, but I do remember when they adopted the seatbelt rule. So I remember when I could lie in the back of the car and have a nap in the back window of the car without a problem. And then we had to get used to putting on seatbelts. So it does work. Okay, so that's a little bit of psychology behind your to-dos. Now what we're going to do, oh, my internet closed here. It was open. or my web page. And let me just get my Great Canadian training up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking at Microsoft To Do. And I'll tell you, both Microsoft To Do and Microsoft Planner, they are Office 365 applications. Now, some of you say to me, oh, I don't have Office 365. There is a chance you do, because if you're using Teams, to be able to use Teams is Office 365. So your work has created an Office 365 account for you. So you log in with your, your typical, your email address. You maybe don't realize that you have the 365 account and you just use Teams. But if they have, I'm not saying every workplace has done this, but if they have purchased the licenses for the full 365 suite for everyone, then you can actually go to the office.com website, log in with your email, your work email and your password, and you will have To Do and Planner available to you if they've purchased the whole sort of suite, because there are levels of purchases for 365. But I'll show you here now. I'm already logged in, so it should take me right there. But if I type office.com in my URL bar up top, my navigation bar, like I said, I'm already logged in and I told it to keep me logged in, but this is my Office 365. And down the left side are the different applications that come with Office 365. Now I already see Planner, which is this, it kind of looks like a green pea, and then there's the To Do with the check mark. But if you don't see it here, there's a little waffle up at the top. Looks like a waffle, like an Eggo waffle. If you click that, it opens up and shows you more applications. And then if you don't see Planner or To Do there, you can go to All Apps. Okay, so I'm going to start with Microsoft To Do. Now, I don't know if any of you have used the task list in Outlook. Outlook comes with email, calendar, contacts, and then tasks. Tasks is like the baby to Microsoft To Do. The tasks, you basically write down tasks, you mark them off when they're complete. You can assign tasks in Outlook to other people, but you can't get your hands into them as much. Since I learned Microsoft To Do, I never ever use Outlook tasks anymore. You can do so much more in this To Do application, but just to let you know, these to-dos are tied up to your Outlook tasks. So if I create tasks here in Microsoft To Do, they will go in my Outlook tasks. So if I go back to tasks, I'll see them there, and vice versa. Tasks in my Outlook will show up here in my Microsoft To Do. It's just that it gives you more options here that I'll show you in Microsoft To Do. So Microsoft To Do compared to Planner, and I'll remind you when we get to Planner, they see Microsoft To Do more as when you need to create your own individual tasks for yourself. Even though I can show you, you can share your tasks with other people, they are more geared towards your own individual tasks. Whereas Planner, which we'll do next, it's more geared toward tracking team and group tasks. So when you need to work on projects with your team and groups, although you can use Planner for your own individual. Okay, there is always that gray area between applications. But here I am in To Do. Now on the left-hand side, I will explain to you what all this is on the left-hand side very soon. And I'm going to start with actually putting in an individual task. I'm going to add one individual task, and then I'm going to do something just a little bit different. So in the middle here where it says add a task, I'm just going to add a task, something like take the garbage out, and press enter. Now, when you add an individual task here, it's just like your task list in Outlook, task after task after task. None of them are related to each other. They're all separate tasks. Or here in Microsoft To Do, you can create lists. And what lists are is they're tasks that are associated with each other in a list. For example, let's say I decide I'm going to create a YouTube channel for my webinars and my videos. So there's a task. I want to create a YouTube channel. What I'm going to do instead of putting it here in the middle is I'm going to go over to the left-hand side down at the bottom, and you'll see a little in blue, a little new list option with a plus symbol beside it. So if I click this plus symbol, now this is something you cannot do in Outlook tasks. So I click the plus symbol and then I type what I want for this list. So it's going to be create YouTube channel. Now I have a list, create YouTube channel. So if I look up here in the middle, I'm on my list, create a YouTube channel. If I want to rename it, I can click this little dot, dot, dot next to it, rename list. And I could call it create an amazing YouTube channel, something like that. And then you add your tasks that are associated with it. So they're like subtasks. So add a task, I could put decide what the channel is about, press enter. How about buy? I have to buy lighting. For this, I have to buy a camera for sure. And I have to buy a microphone. This is going to be an expensive task list. But these are all under create an amazing YouTube channel. Okay. Now, if I click on one of these tasks, like decide what the channel is about, I'll click on it. I get a window or a task pane on the right where I can add information about this task. So one of the things I can do for each task is add steps or another sub list. So you can have a sub list of steps for this step, which is part of the create an amazing YouTube channel. Like, boy, can you organize yourself. So I could click where it says add a step, and I could put brainstorm at least 20 ideas. Press enter, narrow down to top 3. Have friends and family narrow down to 1. So now I have a sub list going for my decide what the channel's about. Then where you see add to my day, this is really neat. I like this. You can add tasks to my day. Okay, so I'm on decide what the channel is about. If I click add to my day, what it does is over here on the left, these items that you see on the left are different ways of filtering your task lists. And if I go to my day, it's going to show me, well, automatically just regular tasks get put in my day. I'll just say I've taken the garbage out already. I'm just going to mark it as complete. And by the way, the sound's on here for my webinar, so you might hear a ding. I hope it's not a very loud ding, but get ready for it. It might scare you. And I'll just minimize this. But what my day is the idea is you come in the morning, you look at your huge task list, and every day's different, right? Some days you're really busy, some days you're not as busy. Well, you decide that day which tasks you think you can handle, and you add them to my day. And then when you click on my day, you see all those tasks and you try to accomplish all those tasks. And when you accomplish a task, you click in the circle and mark it complete. If at the end of the day, you have a couple of tasks that you didn't mark as complete, then what happens is at the end of the day, my day gets cleaned out, wiped clean. Okay, the tasks are still there. If you go back to your list, you can either go to your list or you can go to your tasks. Your tasks were like those general tasks, take the garbage out, but I'll go to my list called create an amazing YouTube channel. Even though it disappears from my day, it still shows in your task list. But the idea is you come in the next day, you may not be able to tackle that. So every day you decide what you can do that day. And every night it gets cleaned out. Okay. I will definitely get to your chats for sure at the end. Okay. But keep putting them in there. Keep putting your questions in there. So that's kind of neat. So you can filter it by my day. Now I'm going to click on the task, decide what the channel is about. So I get this task pane on the right. So that's what the My Day is. You can also mark a task as important. You can either do it over in the task pane on the right. There's a little star here, or you see the little stars beside each task. It doesn't really matter. You can just click the star and it's marked as important. Then it jumps to the top of your list. Plus, if you go back to the left where I was showing you My Day, another way to filter your tasks is by important. Now it tells me I have one thing in there that's important. So if I click important, it will show me all the tasks that are important across all of my lists, not just the list I'm in. You could have 100 tasks, 5 of them important, you'll see them here. So I'll go back to my list, create an amazing YouTube channel. I'll click back on my decide what the channel's about. Over here on the right, you can add reminders to get it done later today, tomorrow, next week. You can pick a date or time, be very specific. You can add a due date. So maybe it's due, I don't know, tomorrow. You can repeat tasks, like take the garbage out every Thursday, put repeats on. You can categorize your tasks. If you've ever used categories in Microsoft Outlook, your categories will show up here, those color categories. We teach those in the Outlook courses. So maybe run webinar. I'll categorize this as run webinar. So you can color categorize. You can add attachments. You can make notes. So here, like you've got a lot of options for each task. But on the left, these are the different ways of filtering. So if I go to planned, because I added a task, decide what the channel is about, and I gave it a due date, it's going to put it under planned. I already completed these. Flagged email or assigned to me, I'll get to in a minute, but flagged email, if you've ever flagged your emails for follow-up in Outlook, your flagged emails will show here. And then tasks are your individual tasks. Now the assigned to me, like I said, you can, if I go back to my list, you can add members. So you can share your lists with other people. So I'm on the Create an Amazing YouTube channel, and I can go up to the top right and I could click share. And I'm going to create an invitation link. And then you have a choice. You can just click invite via email and then put somebody's email address in and they'll get the link. Or maybe you don't want to do it by email. Maybe you want to paste the link in Teams or paste it in a messenger chat or something. You can just copy the link and paste it somewhere. And by the way, I did that. I shared my grocery list that I created with my husband. So I sent it to him by email. So now we both have the same grocery list and we can both add to it. And then he does the grocery shopping, which is kind of cool. And he's at the grocery store. And if I suddenly remember something, I just quickly pull out my iPad and I have the Microsoft To Do app on my iPad. And I just click the app and add it to the list. And while he's in the grocery store, he sees it pop up. Plus I can see what he's getting and I can see them being marked off the list. It's really cool. But if other people have assigned tasks to you, you could filter your tasks by what's been assigned to you. Okay, so this is an idea of what you can do in the to-do application. You can even go as far as, I'll just do this quickly. I'll create one more new list here on the left. So I'll create a list called video ideas. And I'll click on the list and I'll just add a couple of tasks like create a to-do webinar. And I also have to create an Office 365 webinar. Okay, so now I have these two lists and then I'm thinking, gee, those have to do with YouTube. Both of those have to do with YouTube. So why don't I create a group called YouTube and put these two lists in? So down here at the bottom where it says new list, over to the right, I can add a group. That's what this little icon is to the right. It doesn't actually say group, but it is create a group. I could call it, oh, I already have a group there called YouTube. Okay, well, I already have a group called YouTube. And normally I'll just say test group because I already have a group called YouTube. So now I have a YouTube group, I have a test group, and then you could drag your lists into, always gets really picky. There, I dragged my 2 lists into my YouTube group, which I can collapse and expand. So if you think about the hierarchy, you have a group, you have lists within a group, within a list, you have tasks, within a task, you have subtasks. I mean, how much more organized can you get? Okay, so that's to do. Now let me show you Planner. So I'll go up to my little waffle here and I'll go to Planner. So when you first load Planner, you're on the Planner hub. This will show you all the plans that you have available. So what you're going to do, kind of like groups, kind of like plans are kind of like groups. So you can have different groups, you can have different plans. You can see I have a plan for Christine's scheduled tasks. That's my general tasks plan. I have a plan specifically for webinars. They're called boards. Like once you click on a plan, a board loads. So I could either open up one of these plans or I could create another new plan, and I'm going to create a plan with you. So over on the left at the top, I'm going to click on new plan. And I'm going to give my plan a name. I'll call it, I don't know, how about video ideas? I was just talking about that. And I usually keep it as private. So unless I invite people, then only I can see the plan. So I'll click create plan. And it's going to load a board. So this is called a board. So you have a board. Think of it like a cork board up on your wall. And then each column is called a bucket. So every time you start a new plan, the very first column, they call it to do, but I always rename it to something. So it's how organized you want to get. So you create column by column by column of different buckets. It's going to be like a grouping of tasks. And then on or in a bucket, you have cards. These are your tasks. So let me show you. I'm going to rename this bucket that's called to do. I'm going to click the little dot, dot, dot next to it and choose rename. And this bucket is going to be one of my video ideas, like how about how to use Teams. I'm going to create a video for how to use Teams. Then I'll go over here to add a new bucket, and I'll do another video for how to record your screen. And then I'll add one more bucket for how to set rules in Outlook. So these are 3 different video ideas that I'm going to do for my YouTube channel. Then I create tasks under each bucket. So under how to use Teams, I'll click add a task. And my task will be, what can I put here? Write a draft. And then when I press enter, it'll bring up a new card ready for me to add another task. So share with team and then incorporate edits. How about that? So I have 3 tasks here. If you want to collapse this card here, you just click anywhere in the background. But anytime you want to add a task, you click add a task. And once you have tasks, you can add extra information to the tasks. So what I could do is write a script, or how about, yeah, write a draft. I'll click on write a draft. And it's kind of like you've taken the card and you've flipped it around, and here's all the information you can add to it. So you can do things like if you've added somebody to your board, which I haven't done, the only member of my board is me, but you can add members to your board. And once they're part of your board, you can assign tasks to different people. They'll show up here. You can add a label. Again, here are your colored labels, whatever You can give them names by using the pencil, whatever pink means to you, whatever red means. I'll just for fun, I'll just give it the pink category. Progress, is it not started? Is it in progress? Completed? Priorities? How about this? Start date, I have to start Friday. The due date is the 24th. You can put notes in. You can put checklists like those subtasks that I was showing you. So, well, okay, I could do something like I have to write the draft. I have to record the draft, you know, something like that. I'm not being too creative here, but you create a checklist of things to do. You can add attachments, you can create write comments. And then up in the top right, you just close the card. Now, the thing is, when you add things to your card, you see the card gets a bit bigger to show you information. Like now it's telling me I have a due date. I've completed 0 of the 2 little subtasks that I have to do here. But you can, if you don't even want to show these subtasks on your card because the cards are getting too big, you can just click on the card. And down here where you're creating your checklist, you can just tell it not to show it on the card. And then it shows the due date and the other options. But a couple of neat things that you can do is it makes it really easy to drag and drop cards around. So you can reorganize your project, your tasks by drag and drop. And you can filter and sort. So up in the top right, and group, by the way. So up in the top right, you can filter by things like anything that's late. So you haven't marked it complete, but it's past your due date, or anything that's due next week, or future dates, all different ways that you can filter. You can group. So right now it's grouped by bucket. So each column is a different bucket name, right? The different videos that I'm doing, but you could choose to group it by the labels. Remember those colored labels? So I assigned the pink label to write a draft, whatever I decided pink meant, and it would show me all my tasks that were associated with whatever the pink label means, all the ones that are associated to red, yellow. So it's just reorganized my buckets, but I could always go back to group it by bucket. So you're back to the way you were originally. And like I said, up in the top right, you can assign members. So you can put email addresses in, and they will then have access to your board, and it will show up in their planner. So when they load Planner and they go to their Planner hub, they'll have access to the plan, and they can come in and add tasks, move tasks around. And up here in the top middle, you're showing it by board. You can show it by chart. So things like how many unassigned tasks are there? How many tasks were assigned to Christine? I don't have any other members, but you would see, you know, who has too many tasks, who doesn't have enough tasks, the progress of tasks. They keep a whole charting system. You can show it by schedule, which everybody likes. So if you do put due dates on, you can look at a calendar with all of your tasks. And then there's a ... to the right, where again, you can check your members, add your members. You can add your plan to your Outlook calendar too, which a lot of people like. So it actually puts your tasks on your calendar. And go back to board. But this is what Planner looks like. I get a lot of people that like Planner better than To Do. Just depends on really how involved you want to get. So what they've done for Teams is they've now combined, they did this a few months ago. You used to add the To Do app to Teams, and then you could add the Planner app, and they were separate. Now they are combined into one. It's called Tasks by Planner and To Do, and I'll show you how you add it to Teams. So if I bring my Teams over here, on your little navigation bar here on the left, there's a ... This allows you to add applications to your team. So if I click ... and I search for, you can search for to do, you can start searching for tasks by planner and to do, but it should pop up. And when you click on it, if you have access, okay, and I can talk about this after. So if you guys are having issues, I'll talk about that. Here's the Tasks by Planner and To Do app. It gives you all the information about it. I'm going to add it. So now I have a little icon here. And when it loads, I do see my two lists that I created in To Do. So right now it's showing me my to-dos. And I could click on this Create an Amazing YouTube Channel. There are my tasks. Tells me how many I've done of how many, priorities, due dates, but you can actually click on the task for more information. There's your checklist. So these are all the tasks that I did in To Do. You can, I can go up here to tasks. I can create a new task list or a new task, take the garbage out. You can add tasks. You can filter by important, filter by planned, just like you can in Microsoft To Do, assigned by me. So you can do a lot of what you do, or add a task to a list. You can do a lot of what you can do in Microsoft To Do here. The things that you cannot do so far, but they're making this better and better and better. There is no My Day in Microsoft when you've added it to Teams. So there's no My Day. You don't see your flagged emails. I don't think you can assign tasks still. You can see what's assigned to you, but I don't think you can assign tasks. And you can't create repeating tasks. Now they are changing this all the time overnight. So like within the last couple of days they could have, but so far that's what we haven't been able to do. If you want to create a new task list, you can go down to the bottom where it says new task or new list or plan. You give your list a name. What can I call this? How about movie ideas? Movie ideas. And if you just leave it on my tasks and click create, it just creates a new list in your, like your to-do list. If you want to create a new plan, like planner, the planner side of it, if you go down to the bottom and click new list or plan, so I'll call it video ideas. I'll call it great video ideas. Video ideas. But where it says my tasks, what they want you to do is choose a channel. I don't know if you guys have ever done the Teams training where we taught you what a team is and what a channel is inside a team. So a channel is a subtopic of conversation inside a team. It wants you to put this into one of your teams, into one of your channels. So I have a team called Awesome Movie Project, and then it gives me a list of all my channels. So I could put it into the, I don't know, the video editing channel. I'm just choosing one and then click create. Now there is a way, I have found a hack kind of for creating, for taking a plan that you've already created and putting it here in Teams. Okay, this is always starting a brand new plan. But there is a hack. So if it's something you guys want to see, I can show you at the end. But this threw me off at first because I created a new plan and then I thought, well, okay, here's my new plan. Great video ideas, but it doesn't look like a plan. It looks like a list. This is because, and this is really important, guys, in the top right corner here, you're showing it as a list. All you have to do is show it as a board, and watch this. There, now it looks like a board. So I'm in my team, Awesome Movie Project. I'm in my Great Video Ideas channel, and I'm on my board here, and I can add a new task, and I can add another task, and I'm creating my cards and my boards. So I can access it through tasks by planner and to do. Here are my lists. Here are my plans. Or I could go to the team that I put it in. So I'll go to teams. I'll go to my awesome movie project team, video editing. And up here, I now have a tab called Great Video Ideas. And there's my plan inside my team. So it's combined inside of Teams. Okay, so I hope this gives you kind of like a really quick overview of what these are all about. Now, I saw you guys putting chats in. I'm going to get to your chats. I think a couple of you are struggling with seeing what I was seeing, so I'm going to get to your chats. What I'm going to do just for 2 minutes here while you're putting your chats in, I'm going to just quickly go to our website. Give me 2 minutes to show you the website while everybody's putting their chats in, and then I will get to what you guys were talking about. I was kind of glancing over there at the time. But I wanted to show you that, you know, I had told you we have the CompUE's website, we have the Great Canadian Training website, a lot of things on each website. They are, even though you're going to 2 different websites, it's the same information. Like when we run our classes, it's the same course schedules, our resources, our free resources, which I'll show you, it's the same. But this is the CompUE's website. So if you want to find out what courses we have to offer, here's your course list. You know, I could go to Teams. Here's a good one, Teams, because I was just talking about Teams training. Oh boy, I could give you guys a lot of Teams training. I could do a full day of Teams training so easily. So we have Teams Complete, which is a full day of Teams training, or if you just want the essentials, there's half a day, you can register. Okay, so it's easy to get to our course list, and we have our free resources icon in the top right. But what I'll do is I'll take you to the Great Canadian Training website. Same thing, we have courses. You can go specifically to the applications you're looking for, like Microsoft or Adobe or whatever. You can have it show all courses and then narrow it down. I'll go to Microsoft. And I don't know, maybe you want the Microsoft 365. We teach Planner and To Do in as part of the Microsoft 365 as well. But you know, we can always customize things for you. So if you want to just really just focus on things like Planner and To Do and integrating it, you could just contact us. But again, you know, you can choose what you want for training, the essentials, that type of thing, and register. And then up in the top right, we have our free resources. So both sites, free resources, it will take you to this page. We have so many free resources, so many good resources. Like we have our podcasts. So Joel Silverstone, the one that I was telling you about that does these really amazing professional skills courses, he also has a podcast. The podcast it really centers around on exploring what makes a good communicator, and he has guests, free podcasts. You can listen now, you can watch on YouTube. We have free downloads, lots. They're going up constantly, so keep coming back and checking all the free downloads. Like we teach an accessibility course, and we've created these accessibility ribbons that you can add to Word and to Excel. We have tips and tricks, like shortcuts, I guess shortcuts. And actually check today or tomorrow, because we now have Teams shortcuts coming up, probably today or tomorrow. So if you want some good shortcuts, our webinars, you can register for our webinars. This will give you a list of all the upcoming webinars. So you're in this webinar right now. The next one, tough conversations don't get easier, but you can get better. The Joel will be doing that one. So if you want to meet Joel, come to this webinar and get an idea of what a professional skills training would be like with him. So lots and lots of webinars coming up. Oh, I'll be doing this one with Joy. It's going to be 2 of us teaching this webinar on what's the difference between all of these Microsoft applications. And don't forget, guys, when you get to the bottom, there's a second page. A lot of people don't see that. And if you guys have any suggestions for webinars, pop it into the chat or send us an email. We're always looking for suggestions for webinars, anything that you're interested in. Okay, So I'm just going to get to your questions here. Let me start from the top. Oh, lots of questions. This is good. Okay. So Heather, my app says tasks by planner and to do. So Heather, were you in Teams when you were looking at it, or did you actually go to the office.com site? Because when you say that your app doesn't have my day, to me, that looks like what I was just showing you when I was in Teams and I went to tasks by planner and to do. So you just see this on the left where you see important planned, whatever, you don't have my day. So I don't know if Heather's still connected. Check that out. I'll come back to you. Oh, Heather. Oh, you can't seem to unmute. Oh, sounds like you unmuted. No? Okay, I'll wait and see if you can unmute. Yeah, I was just looking at Helen's message here. You have a background in psychology about creating habits, 31 days, you said 21. But you know what? Yeah, this goes way back, Helen, and it was all based on, oh, I've got to search it. It was all based on a book that somebody wrote, and it's the way he worded it that everybody jumped on it. And it's not even 21 or 31. Really, the curve is, you're looking more like the 61 days. So yeah, but you remember that too, eh? Yeah. Okay, Heather, it looks like Melanie's trying to help you out there. Um, yeah, see you. Okay, Heather, find a new list or plan. This must mean you're in Teams. Chris. Oh, hey, Chris. At the moment, the PSPC, there's no date to get the to-do and planner. This gives a quick, oh, okay. Yeah, so that happens sometimes. So they give you a 365 count, but it's a very basic 365 account. So they're not right now currently paying for the full application of suites until you get right into 365 and you start using Word, Excel, PowerPoint 365. Then you'll have access probably to to-do and planner. Oh, hopefully soon, Chris. How can I make sure that my own buckets and plans are only seen by me? Okay, so your own buckets and plans, as long as when you create, oh, yeah, okay, well, two things. There are two answers to that question. If you're doing it in the actual planner app, do I still have it open? The planner app, when I was on the planner hub and I created a new plan, if you keep it private, you will only be able to see it. You have to add people. If you're in Teams, when you add your planner to a channel, and I'm thinking maybe that's what you're concerned about. So let's say I added 10 people to the awesome movie project team so they see the great video idea. Well, let me go to it. So if I'm in Teams and I go to my awesome movie project team into the video editing channel, anybody that's on the awesome movie project team has access to the video editing channel. So if you add the planner to that, and there are people that you have not given access to the plan, so you were in planner, you didn't give them access to the plan, they should not be able to see your plan. Now, this was a new plan that I put in here. So if it's a new plan, then anybody that's on the team can see it. If it's a plan, and I told you there's a hack kind of way of putting a plan that you've created in Planner into a channel. There is a way to do it, one that's already created. When you put a plan that you've already created into a channel, only the people that you gave access to your plan through Planner will be able to see it in the channel. So if you have 10 people in the team and only 2 people you gave access to in Planner, when you put it in this channel, only those 2 people will be able to see it. The other 8 people, even though they'll see the tab when they go to it, it'll say you don't have access to it. Ask the person to give you access. So if it's a plan already created, you have to give people access for them to be able to see it. Just because they're part of the team, they won't be able to see it. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to get through these quickly. Heather, oh, I answered all your questions. You have the integrated version. Okay. How do you add a group as a channel? I don't see boards, charts, or schedules. Oh, group like in the to-dos. When I go back to task by planner and to do, I'm thinking you're talking about. That's another thing. You don't see the groups. You can't create groups. So you see that they didn't transfer over here when they're in teams. You don't get the groups. That actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't message you about that. So yeah, you don't get the groups. You don't see boards, charts, schedules. Yeah, so yes, so there's for planner. So when you're in planner, you won't see boards, charts, and schedules. I don't think it's under here. Yeah, you don't see boards, charts, and schedules. Well, oh no, here, up in the top right. I stand corrected. They're up here normally in planner, but if you look at the far right, you should have boards, charts, schedule. But are you saying you don't see them maybe? Okay, you're trying to work out your microphone. Yeah, you should see it in the top right. So if you happen to be on a plan, then you should see boards, charts, and schedules, not on a list. If you're on a list, you don't see it. But if you're on a plan, you do see it. And by the way, guys, if you're on a list, you also have up in the top right, you can filter your lists here. So all active or completed, you can filter by different things. That's all within Teams. Is there anything else, guys? Wow, it looks like still pretty cool. 23 of you guys stuck around for all the questions.
I have a question, Christine.
Yeah.
You said that it was a MS Teams session. Did you say that's tomorrow?
No, I'm not sure if there's one tomorrow. Let me just check. Teams training. Teams complete, so the full day, which trust me, we could do a full day.
No, I'm thinking of one of your webinars.
Oh, webinars. We had already, we had was it top 10 tips in Teams? Did we? I'm trying to remember. Actually, hold on.
My attention was distracted when you mentioned it, which is why I'm asking again. So I may not be asking a question that has a distinct answer.
I'm trying to remember now. We had a top 10 Teams webinar. So it was
10 mean?
So it was, if you use Teams, here are some top 10 tips that you can use in Teams to make yourself more efficient and use it better.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you go on our website, you'll see a link to that. You can watch it, that YouTube video. You can go right to YouTube.
Okay.
And you'll see it there. So all of our YouTube, all of our webinars are recorded. So you can go back and watch that one.
So there isn't another one coming up. It's basically go watch the recording is the option at the moment. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Anybody else, guys? So here are your previous webinars. When you're on our free resources, down here is your previous webinars you can watch now. I guess I could have done that instead of go to my files and folders. But yeah, just a little further back. Become a Teams power user with these top 10 tips. Oh, you're so welcome. You're very welcome, guys. All right. If there are no more questions, webinar is complete. Hopefully I will see you guys again. A couple of webinars down the road, I'll be doing it again. But next month, check out Joel's webinar. It'll be so fun. I'll probably sit through it too. So see you guys. I'll talk to you again. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for coming to the webinar. And I'll just put up my, if you want information or to contact us, here is our contact information, guys. Have a good day. I'll leave this up for a couple of minutes. Take care, everybody.